Hello everyone, welcome back. Now let's quickly figure out how we can work on forgot password thing. So similarly to our verification method where we used Laravel must verify email. So similarly we also have another method or another functionality what you can say is basically provided to us by Laravel. So all we need to do is basically we need to follow the conventions. So this is what I'm going to do. So there are a couple of things that you can walk through all of these documentations. But since this is already implemented with our latest database in Laravel, so we don't need to do anything specifically. All we need to do is basically we need to follow the certain options. So starting with that, we have the forgot password option. So first of all, let's make sure that we follow these patterns. So starting from the password reset link request form, which we already have here. This is basically the form. So this is the first thing that we need to set up. So we have already set this up, but all I want to do is basically I want to change the name. So making sure that the name is exactly matching the same. So and also the URL is also the same. So URL is basically same, but we need to make sure that this name is also similar. Okay, so now what we need to do is basically we need to open the login index and we need to change the name of our forgot password link, like so. Now, this is our first step. If I now try to reload the page, it works. If I go back to login, click on that, it works. Okay. Now, the second is basically now we need to submit the form. And definitely once the form will be submitted, we need to implement the functionality. So all we need is basically let's create an endpoint. So this should be request, not requests because we are missing the T. All we need is basically we need to create an endpoint similarly to all previous endpoints which we did, and let's use this password forgot controller and create a function of password underscore request. And definitely this also has a name of password dot email. So let's use that password dot email, and let's also change this to password underscore email, like so. And let's copy this name and use this as an action. So route password.email. Additionally, we also need to make sure that we include the CSRF token, and this is email. So we also need to make sure that the type is email and the value is also old set to email. Okay, and that's it. Now, let's the next part is basically we need to create a function. So let's create the function, duplicate this one, remove everything from here. Also remove the review to redirect response. Now we also need to validate our email. So let's create a form request class. So PHP artisan make request, um, password forgot form request, like so. Password forgot form request and then request. Okay, and additionally we also need to do everything within our try catch block. So we also need to make sure that we use query exception. Let me use this one, and let's also log the error if there is any error. And finally, actually let's open our register controller and copy things from here. Okay, um similarly what we did with our services, so we also need to create a service as well. So I'm going to create a class. So PHP artisan make a class services, and this should be password forgot service. Similarly, what we did, we also need to create the constructor function and use password forgot service, and this should be service public object service. Finally, this one. Okay, now since we have got this one, so let's use this service and email password forgot. That's quite reasonable. Okay, let's also open the request class and let me remove the comments. Authorization is set to true, and since we are using the email, so we need to make sure that it is required, it is valid email, and it should exist in users. Okay, we don't want that to be that does not exist in user, so we need to make sure that this email does exist inside the users table. Okay, so simple is that, and let's create this function in our uh, password forgot service. So in this function we need to copy this code like so, and we also need to use this password import class. So this is a facade send reset link, and we need to also get that. So we also need to return this one. Okay, so what this functionality is doing, this is basically returning, sending an email. Okay, um, and then this will basically return us the status. So we need to grab this functionality and let's move back to our this function, and let's store it in a variable of say service or maybe status. Sorry, not a service, it should be status. So within the status we can set check if the password reset link is sent, we can set to success, or else we can set this with error. Okay, so this is basically a redirect response. Now that's the first step. Let's try to do that. First of all, let me try to use email that does not exist. So we also definitely need to make sure to include the errors. So it should be underscore errors dot errors like so. Again, let me try, and you can see that the selected email is invalid. Now let's open the database, get the users, and get the email. So now if I try to send a reset link, and okay, so it says that the password reset is not defined. Additionally, what we also need to do is basically we also need to perform a couple of steps, because once we are going to send the reset link, so with the reset link, the button will there will be a button and a link where the user can click and redirect to the other page where the user can reset their passwords, and that definitely will contain the token and email as well. So let's create this function, sorry, this endpoint, and for that what we need is basically we need to use again our password forgot controller method, because this is what we are doing. And let's remove this middleware and password reset. Let's also create a function which will be the exact identical copy of password reset, and let's paste it here. So here it should be password reset, and we have password forgot dot index, so let's use password forgot dot reset. Okay, and this will accept a string of token. Okay, we also need to pass the token to that as well, like so. And we also need to definitely create a file. So let me duplicate this one and paste it here. Okay. And then finally, okay, so let's try with that now. And let me just go to mail trap. Let's send the password reset link. Open the mail trap account. Okay, it says we have emailed you the password reset link. Let's open that and we can see that password reset notification is here. And we also have this nice little email. Clicking on that, sorry, where we have this one. So you can see that when I click on that, down below you can see we have a token and an email address. So let's click on that, and this took us to this form, which is exactly we replicated one. So now we need to change a little bit things in that. So we can say reset your password, and we can also change this line to um, enter your new password, like so. Additionally, where we have email, we can get the email from the request, and we can also make it as read only. And definitely we do not need this id, sorry, the name, because that should not be there. Next, we also need to create password field. So password, and this should be password, and this should not be read only, and the value should not be stored here. That's another important feature. Keep this thing in mind that we do not store the password values, and the type should be password. So we have input type password. We are missing the name here, so the name should also be password. Additionally, we also need password confirmation. Okay, so it should be again password of type. It should be password confirmation, and we also need to set password underscore confirmation, like so. And we also need to make sure that these are required. Okay, both the fields are definitely required. We cannot let the user submit without these options. And we can also restore this, change this link button to reset password. Reload the page. Now you can see we have two more options. Okay, and we can also make sure that this is autofocus the password field, like so. Now the next step is definitely we need to move forward. So the next step is handling the form submission. So we need to create a post request. So this is basically the get. We also need to create a post request, and that post request will go to the password reset method. Okay, so we can use update password function, and we can also use password dot update name, like so. Okay, and what else we need is basically now finally we need to create a function, and this function will definitely get the request and everything. So let's copy this functionality from here and paste it right here. And also we need to change the redirect response and definitely the request as well. Okay, so again we also need to create a class. So I will say password forgot form request. This time I will say password update form request. So password update form request. Now the reason is that why I am creating these classes or form request classes, because I want to make sure that whatever the action is being carried out, it is properly validated. So I do not want that anything is not validated, so that's will definitely create a problem, and definitely a security vulnerability will also be there. Okay, so that is the reason I want to make sure, strictly make sure, that everything I do that has to be deal with the database, and that has to be that is basically affecting our database, that should be properly checked, okay, no matter what. So these are the reasons that I am properly doing this. And we also need to validate that these are properly what you can say is so if you not, if you are not going to do that in a proper manner, like the properly using classes, so definitely that will make our code mess. Okay, so what I need more is basically, let's actually take this class, or maybe similarly what we have done here, let's replicate this functionality and use a function of password update. So let's actually, so this is email, we also need to make sure that this exists email. Okay, and let's also create a function of password update, and let's use this one, use this code and paste it right here, and obviously remove the status. Additionally, we also need to import the user model. We also need to import the hash and string as well. So this should be illuminate support, and this should also trigger the password reset link. Okay, finally, once this is done, we need to redirect the user back to the page, like so. All right, so redirect back to user to login, and it should be success or it is an error. And finally, once this is all done, so we don't need to do anything else. Now if I try to reload the page, so definitely this one is the page. If you check out this request, so this is basically asking that there should be a token, which means that the token should be stored in an input hidden field. So let's create input type of hidden, name it token, and the value is what we passed to this from our controller function, this one. Okay, now if I reload the page, we have password and password confirmation. So let's use the password, reset the password. Okay, it says that the email field is required, so we also need to make sure that we get set the name of email. Reload the page, set the password, and this will basically update our password. Okay, uh, actually there is a problem, and that is we need to use this name to our password reset. So we have not updated the form action, and this definitely has sent the email to our mail trap. So now if I go to the mail trap again one more time, go to accounts, inbox, we have the email, click on that. Okay, so it says missing required parameter for route password update. Okay, so we don't need that here. Let's reload this page and update. Now here you can see that our password has been successfully updated. And if I try to log in, definitely I will be able to log in. And if you want to see if the password is updated, keep your focus on this second row. As soon as I refresh the page, you can see that the password does update it. All right, so we have covered the basic things of our application. So starting from password resetting, creating account, and logging the user. From the next lectures, we are basically going and setting up our dashboard pages. All right, that's about it, and I will see you in the next one.